Ennis, if you're out there and you listen, mate, come on the show. You're always welcome.
Well, what a segue. You lead me to the return of the Fave 5 in commemoration of Michael Ennis announcing his retirement. I'm going with Kev's Fave 5 moments that made Mick Ennis. So that's what we're going with today. So
right, I like
a tribute
this.
to Mick Ennis. So Danny, well done. I hadn't told anyone what we were doing for the Fave 5 this week, so you've just fallen into a really good segue there, mate. So well done. So, as we say, lay the groundwork for Mick Ennis. He's announced his retirement this week. A terrific career. He's played at 5 different clubs over the course of it, but he really made his name at the Bulldogs and now the Sharks in the last couple of years. The Broncos as well, he was very, very good at. But, you know, as you said, he's known as the grub, the villain, the menace. He's that guy, but underneath that, he's actually a really intelligent, likeable guy as well. So here are the 5 moments for me that stick out in the career of Michael Ennis. So number 5 is Ennis versus Farah, that rivalry. So we think back to 2009. Danny Badiris was leaving for the Super League. The New South Wales number 9 jersey was vacant for the first time in close to a decade. Ennis and Farah were the leading contenders. Farah, who was a premiership winner at the time, was probably the front runner, but Ennis, his great run of form, was making quite a compelling case for him. It was a great feud. Ennis got under the skin of the somewhat irritable Farah on a number of occasions in the run-up in the 18 months prior, whether it was verbal or on the field. They had a great clash at City Country leading in. Eventually, Farah got the nod in Game 1, but Ennis got the last laugh by replacing Farah in Game 3 of the same series. One of the most entertaining feuds/battles for a rep jersey in recent memory. Michael Ennis versus Robbie Farah.
Yeah, I think, you know, the 2 best hookers of the New South Wales generation in the last 10 years, I'd say,
since Badiris,
pretty clear cut, since Badiris. So some good clashes in there. That's probably one of the best ones that year. So yeah, I don't know who came out on top really in the end. It's pretty damn even, but Mick held his own, that's for sure.
He absolutely did. And number 4 is his State of Origin debut, as we mentioned there. Robbie Farah had a couple of pretty shaky performances in Game 1 and 2 of that 2009 series. So it was his arch rival, Mick Ennis, who got the crack in Game 3, 2009. He had a very strong showing on debut in New South Wales' win at Suncorp Stadium. It was a particularly niggly game of football, suited Ennis down to the ground. Obviously, he was in the centre of everything. It ended with that infamous Steve Price, Brett White punch-up. But yeah, Ennis was in the thick of everything. And for a guy who had been at 4 different clubs by the time he turned the age of 24, it was a pretty remarkable journey for Mick Ennis to make his way to a State of Origin debut in 2009.
Should have played way more Origin.
I agree with that completely. Number 3, his Sharks renaissance. So I'd argue that from 2008 onwards, Mick Ennis has been an excellent hooker, one of the game's top rakes for sure. But I don't think he's played any better than he has in the last couple of seasons for Cronulla. Last year, he finished the season with 18 try assists, 16 line break assists. Both of those were season highs for hookers, and he finished second in the Dally M's. It was a terrific year for him. This year, with the re-emergence of Benny Barber as a force, he hasn't had to do as much of that creative stuff, but he still ticked every box, played terrific football, and I'd say really endeared himself to the hearts of Sharks supporters over the last couple of years. So for his late career form at the Sharks, that gets my number 3 pick.
And I think will be hooker of the year. I think Cam Smith's the only one coming close to him at the moment. I think he's far and away the best hooker in the comp at the moment, and I think at the age of, 34 he is now, something like that, that's an awesome performance.
Number 2 is my favourite Michael Ennis story. Michael Ennis versus Nathan Hindmarsh from 2011. Above all else, Mick Ennis is known for being a menace, a sledger, a niggler, a grub, a villain to many, and never was that more evident than during a confrontation with Parramatta legend Nathan Hindmarsh in 2011. Hindmarsh was not a noted hothead, but on this day, after numerous incidences involving the pair, things reached breaking point when Ennis said something that got under Hindmarsh's skin. So what happened? There was a tackle. Ennis pulled Hindmarsh off the tackle. They exchanged words. The ball moved out to the left away from the play, and they kept jogging in support there. Hindmarsh was about 5 metres clear of him, and you could see Ennis yapping away at him, and then suddenly Hindmarsh stops where he is. He turns around and he chases Ennis, and he throws a couple at him. Both men ended up in the sin bin. In the press conference after the game, Hindmarsh said flatly, "He's a grub, wouldn't expand any further. He's just a grub, mate." Speculation raged for a while of what Hall of Fame sledge must have caused Hindmarsh to go after him, but eventually it was revealed he was merely something along the lines of, "You've been threatening to belt me for years, why don't you finally do something about it?" Well, Hindmarsh did something about it. At the time, Parramatta were leading 14-0, but after the sin binning, everything sort of came apart at the seams for Parramatta, and the Bulldogs went on to win that game. So he may have copped a couple on the chin, but as he often did, the menace came out on top when it mattered most.
I don't think I ever saw Nathan Hindmarsh throw a punch outside of that incident. That's the only time I ever saw him throw a punch. So, Ennis did his job, I suppose.
He absolutely did. And number 1, an old dog comes of age. The Bulldogs' captaincy goes to Mick Ennis. So for me, after years of being known as one of the game's biggest villains, many thought the Dogs had gone barking mad when they announced that Mick Ennis would be their captain in 2012. Why would you want such a hated figure in rugby league to be the leader of your club? Well, it proved to be 100% the right decision, as the wider public finally got a glimpse of the other side of Mick Ennis for the first time. The intelligent, well-spoken, and genuinely likeable man that Mick Ennis really is. Suddenly that started to shine through, and his leadership on and off the field proved to be exemplary. He led the Dogs to 2 grand finals as captain, the first one in 2012 against the Storm, and then again in 2014 against Souths. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury in that 2014 prelim final and missed out on playing the big one, which would have been his send-off at the Bulldogs. It was an unfortunate end for him, but I feel his time as captain of the Bulldogs was the shining light in the career of Mick Ennis, and for that reason, it is my number one favourite moment that made Mick Ennis.
Yeah, look, a fantastic career. The highlight of it, I remember him punching on with, I think it was Nate Miles in Origin.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
In 2008. In the ruck, I remember
2010,
that.
I should say.
I remember that. That's my biggest Ennis memory. But you look like I flat out hated him for a long time. I hated him. I hated his guts. And now he's one of my favourite players in the NRL, and fantastic career, 5 awesome moments from him. If you're out there listening to the video, go to Back3 NRL, Facebook or Twitter. Head over to our YouTube page, the Back3 Podcast Outlook.com. We release every Thursdays. Give us a listen.
Absolutely right. So Mick Ennis, congratulations on a great career. And they've got plenty of motivation, the Sharkies, to bring over a premiership this year, sending out Mick Ennis and Paul Gallen in the same year. Could it be the year for the Sharkies? They've won 15 in a row. Well, we'll wait and see. It could be, but they'll have to contend with the